the mighty pole. Liberty, property, no stamps. Being just a little ahead of myself. Before we start this story, especially where the Liberty Pole is concerned with Portsmouth, we need to step back to 1765 in Market Square. All right, we are in Market Square in downtown Portsmouth. And in 1765, there was quite the protest right here in Market Square. You can see what it looks like today. It would have been dirt roads, of course. A lot of these buildings would not have been here. Some of them would have been, but it has always been a bustling hub of activity, particularly here in New Hampshire. Problem this time was the tax collector. We had a George Maverne. He was the tax collector from here in Portsmouth. And do you know what this sly dog did? He went back to England, to London, and he kind of snitched on the people of Portsmouth and New Hampshire in general. He was rallying for the Stamp Act, thought it was a good idea, went and pleaded his case, and he was part of why it wasn't acted. The nerve of the man. So, of course, people here were like, we're not having any of that. How could our own person want to go back and tattle and, get this done? They were not happy. It was going to mess with their game of whist. It was going to tax their newspapers, their cards, their stamps, everything like that. And they knew, too, that, where there was one, there's probably going to be more. So more taxes coming, more oppression. And people were not happy. And they took action and they did something about it. So they burn an effigy of the tax collector. They also burn an effigy of George Granville, the Prime Minister of Great Britain at the time. Effigies of Maverne and Granville. They bring out images of the devil himself, and they're drawing a comparison between the tax collector, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, and Satan himself. And they literally have these images, and they're hanging them here in Market Square, and they're protesting. And they're really upset. They're saying no to the tax, no to the oppression, no to the British governmental overreach. And the Sons of Liberty is pissed. They're taking action. Enter the mighty pole. Now, the act of, burning things in effigy, that was not a uniquely colonial American thing to do either. This was practiced around the world in different cultures. And as a form of protest, it's one that I find really interesting. I would love to travel back in time and, kind of be a fly on the wall for some of those. You think about things like Guy Fawkes Day. Remember the 5th of November. And, the big protest that broke out after that. During the French Revolution and things like that. It was also commonly practiced. But to think of that going on in America today is kind of interesting. Of course, sometimes political protests can get pretty heated, and even in recent times you may see images of certain political people being touted kind of in a similar way, characterized and protested, but the intensity of actually creating because they created like a mannequin, like imagine a Spirit Halloween costume doll person that they would, parade around, mock, and then set on fire. It's intense. After burning the effigy, making it clear where a lot of town folks, and definitely the Sons of Liberty, stood, they come back here, right to this spot, and what do? 1766 now, they raise a Liberty pole. Not this exact pole. This exact pole is newer. It's in honor of the place where the original Liberty pole was, which is right here. And here they've put some information for us. But this is very special. Probably drive by this pole all the time and are like, okay, there's a big white pole with a shield on it. They probably think, what is that? Or, okay, it's a pole. This pole stands for freedom. This pole stands for liberty. And in America, symbols matter. Symbols are something we talk a lot about. And you could think an eagle's just an eagle, a pole is a pole, a flag is a flag. What's in these material objects? But this country has a long heritage of symbolism and what they stand for and meaning behind them. And there's always a story behind these things. So today we are talking about the mighty Liberty Pole. Now, you could say that the original Liberty Pole was the Liberty Tree in Boston, which sadly the British did cut down. There's a memorial to it downtown if you go right across from the Common. And the Liberty Tree goes back to the Sons of Liberty early on meeting in Massachusetts. And if a red flag was hung from the tree, that means that they wanted to meet. You were to go in secret. A lot of these men were Freemasons and met in taverns or places where the Masonic meetings would take place, because it was a way that they could talk amongst themselves in secret and relay the information and organize. One of the success we had in early America and the Patriot cause was because of organization. And this was no better demonstrated by than the Sons of Liberty. You had the Committee of Correspondence early on, the Committee of Safety, eventually the Sons of Liberty, and these were groups that gathered all across the colonies to get together and not just be what today would be like a keyboard warrior. These were the people that actually did the things that made a difference and would organize protest, organize rallies, different causes like that. So no greater example than the Liberty Pole. So going back to ancient times, the Liberty Pole could be found in ancient Rome, and a red cap was placed upon the pole that was raised when a slave was freed, symbolizing that they had gotten their freedom, and it was kind of an act of defiance, but libertas, or liberty. That is the ancient origin of the Liberty Pole originally. Now in colonial America, we can go back to 1765, 1766, defiance of the Stamp Act, places like this. There are other towns across the United States that also have Liberty Poles. Bedford, Massachusetts famously does a pole raising and capping every year to this day. And hey, Bedford Minutemen, if you guys do one this summer, I will be there. And we will, of course, do a refresh if that happens, but you'll have some good background knowledge here. Now, a very legendary history in the time of Liberty Poles can be found in 1770 in New York City, where colonists tussled with British troops encamped in the city there, and patriots would raise a pole in defiance of the troops being encamped there, and the British would tear it down. The patriots would raise it, the British would tear it down. The skirmish increased, there were injuries, shots were fired. This was a 10-year ordeal, the Battle of Golden Hill. Crazy, amazing that a lot of people haven't even heard of it. Important time in history. And think, 1770, that's, 5 years before 1775, Lexington and Concord. 5 years before the powder alarm and shots fired right here at Fort William and Mary, now Fort Constitution, just across the bridge here at Newcastle Island. So Golden Hill goes on and on. Eventually, the British take it down after it's been reinforced by patriots with steel. They still find a way to cut that puppy down. They defiantly break it into a whole bunch of pieces and lay it at the doorstep of the headquarters in New York City of the Sons of Liberty as a real howdy doody to ya. I don't want to say what I'm really thinking. As in, cut it out, we're gonna win. Well, just imagine in colonial America, we have all these things going on in all these cities across America, and these acts of defiance are going on, and they're using a pole. Oftentimes, that's what I mean. Symbolism, it's important. It's more than a pole. It's a symbol of liberty. And if you think about the origins of, freed slaves in Rome, and now a country that wants to be free, it's really a beautiful thing. So essentially, a pole would be raised, sometimes a cap would fly from it, or a red flag, depending on the area and the situation. But Golden Hill was really a beautiful example of, just how intense things were and what the pole meant to people and how it could really, bring about a spark. Brush fires of freedom in the minds of men is something that, I talk about a lot. And sometimes it was literal, sometimes it was through symbolism, but I think it's pretty cool and it's pretty special that we have a pole. Now, this mystery adventure that Kay and I are going on pretty soon, coming up in April, our one day long haul journey for one day that's going to be crazy. the place that we are going, I will give you a hint, they also have a Liberty pole. So I will be reminding you guys about that then. But I knew that when we get there, we're going to be busy and we only have about 10 hours in the city that we're going. So I'm not going to be able to do a complete history on the Liberty pole because there'll be other things, but I will remind you, and I will be able to look back on this and say, hey, you guys, watch the Liberty pole video. And I'm thinking that it might be a fun thing to do these little videos on like a subject from time to time. What do you guys think? I'm thinking like, you know, on different symbols of early America or on little subjects that, you know, come together so that when you guys are watching, you have a grasp on what I'm saying. I don't expect everybody to know everything that I'm talking about. I hope that through these vlogs, I'm able to get across my passion for history, but I hope that you're also learning something and putting the pieces of the puzzle together. And I think that it might be fun to focus on very specific topics like the Liberty pole, so that when I go into broader stories, you can kind of look at the puzzle more as a whole, if that makes sense. And I think it's fun. So I just wanted to really bring you guys out here today to show you that. And this is Prescott Park. And, you know, here is the waterfront, the Liberty pole over there, and there is a flock of geese. That is the Piscataqua River that flows into the ocean. If you kept following it over there. Just wanted to come over here and say hi to my little goose friends. So Liberty poles continue to be raised from time to time by, you know, local patriots, townspeople, certainly the Sons of Liberty. And after the Revolutionary War, by 1790, fast forward, things were settled. We had already had the war, we had won our freedom, but we had different rebellions throughout the country with things like Shays Rebellion and the Whiskey Rebellion. Daniel Shays was a farmer in Western Massachusetts who was mad about taxes, and then in Pennsylvania they were taxing whiskey, and people were coming after people like George Washington, which is hard to believe, but they were saying, you know, that we had fought so hard for our freedoms and, you know, now we're being taxed. And there was a big divide over the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists and where people's political opinions lied. And Liberty poles were interestingly once again used as a symbol, you know, of protest and going back to the original Liberty movement of, you know, you could say 1765 to 1775, going in throughout the war to 1783. After those rebellions were put down and things kind of settled again, there was another resurgence of the use of Liberty poles once Thomas Jefferson became president, but it was kind of a universal symbol, like it is now, of liberty for everybody. It was just seen as kind of a patriotic image, a physical way to harness the memory of what has come before, and people started raising them again with that in mind. And now they're just kind of seen as the same, a physical remembrance of liberty, what we have been through, the struggle and the experiment that is this amazing place we call the United States of America. And I'm absolutely freezing, by the way. If you guys have any questions about Liberty poles or want to know more, leave it in the comments. I'll try to see what I can do. I'm so cold, I honestly don't know if I'm thinking straight. I hope this is all making sense. I hope you guys are enjoying this. And just taking you out here on the water to see the Piscataqua. It's windy. So the funny thing is that the forecast says that it's like 48 degrees. But with the wind chill, it's 36. So you can see there's a big discrepancy. Like, how does that even happen? It's beautiful. And like the sun, I don't know. It feels good if you get it in the right spot, but that wind actually is blocking it pretty darn good. And speaking of loving things and passion, like I have for early America, they do the love lock thing here. And you can see people come and put love locks like they do in a lot of, touristy places or cities around the world. Paris is famous for this, but I knew they do it in a lot of places. Let's see. Jerry. We got Joni and Michael, 2008. Jesse and Uranaya. Okay. Joel and Linda. That one's like professionally engraved. Interesting. Wow. That's fun. Eddie and Angel. Stephanie and Israel. I bet people come from all over. Wow. Some have dates. Some are like really legit. Huh. It's funny. I wonder if people like are getting engaged here. Interesting. I'll have to ask some of my friends that are local. I can already imagine the response I'm going to get is, no, that's a tourist thing. Whoa, what the heck is that? It's like they took, what do they call that? Plating from a car and like fashioned it into a heart? All you car enthusiasts are going to be rolling your eyes at me because I can't think of what that plating is called. Interesting. I do love my Portsmouth. Man, it's freezing. See? Symbols. A love lock, a liberty pole. Oh, this one's really cool. It's like Victorian kind of. Like Patrick Henry, I know of no way of judging the future but by the past. Hope you guys enjoyed that and gained some knowledge and had some fun with me today on this little vloggy. We will be having much more adventures, as I previously said. I'm really looking forward to more distant travels from the beyond. Not quite. And all the fun things having to do with Patriots Day, the 250th of the Rev War, the 250th of America. So many fun things to get to. Guys, remember, I am on Instagram at _historychicks. You can find me there too with updates, fun little things, historic anecdotes, and extra photos, stuff like that. It's been real fun. Remember, history is everywhere, deserves to be discovered, and has a story to tell. We will see you soon. Bye.